Knitting up a chunky Christmas stocking. Hi, I'm Kristen and welcome back to my channel, Studio Knit. My new pattern for this chunky stocking creates a full-sized heirloom for the holidays. And there are no complicated heel and toe technique. We're just easily shaping the stocking foot with a series of basic increase and decrease stitches. This is the left-handed video. If you would like to see the right-handed version, I have a video for you as well. For our knitting supplies, we are using two different colors of super bulky yarn. We're also using a circular needle number 11 US, but we are knitting flat. I'll get to that in a bit. And you also want scissors and a tapestry needle on hand. The yarn I'm using is Lion brand Wool Ease Super Bulky. Feel free to use any super bulky yarn that you have available. A circular needle size 11 US. I recommend the length at 29 inches or longer, and we are knitting it flat, not in the round. The circular needle allows us to have a needle that's long enough to knit it all in one piece. And you'll want to get your written knitting pattern over on my website at Studio Knit. To begin, we are casting on 40 stitches, and to help you out, I figured that at 80 inches is the perfect place to begin casting on. You can do the entire cast on in just the simple long tail cast on, or you can alternate 2 knit cast on with 2 purl cast ons, because it gives the 2x2 rib stitch edge the perfect shaping. Keep it simple if you'd like, and just do the regular long tail cast on. Once you have all 40 stitches onto your needle, it is time to begin row 1. I'm going to be sharing an overview of the construction of the stocking, as well as demonstrating each knitting technique you'll need to know. For this cuff, it is the 2x2 rib stitch, and I'm sure you are familiar with this. It is knitting 2 stitches, bringing your yarn to the front, and purling 2 stitches, and continuing this pattern all the way down the row. And here we have the first 8 rows of our 2x2 rib stitch, and you can see how big and substantial it already is. So this piece knits up very quickly. Our first decrease stitch is SSK slip slip knit, and we are taking our needle, slipping it once, slipping it twice, inserting our needle, knitting it through, and we have the slip slip knit decrease. On this row right here, row 9, continue in the knit stitch, and the other decrease we have on this row is knitting 2 together. So we simply place both stitches onto our working needle, knit it through, and those 2 stitches have been decreased into 1. Another knitting technique that we're using is the purl stitch. Purling on all of the wrong side rows, the even number rows in the pattern for the stockinette stitch. Each time you change your yarn, I recommend leaving about 16 inches of a yarn tail, because we'll be using it to seam our edges at the end. Changing yarn colors is also a little technique that we will be using. The first time we do it will be at a slip slip knit. Simply place the new yarn color onto your working needle, knit it on through, and when you have completed the entire piece, you can simply weave in that yarn end where you have the color changes. Make sure that you always change your yarn color when knitting on the right side of the work, and that will be the odd number rows, so that you have a beautiful edge on the outside of your work. Leaving those purl dash lines on the wrong side of your work for nobody to see. And you'll see all of the stripe color changes that we have in the body of our stocking. And now it is time to start shaping the foot with a few more knitting techniques for you. KFB, knit front and back. This is an increase. So you knit, you keep the stitch on the needle, and then you knit into the back of the stitch, and that increases 1 stitch into 2. I like adding a stitch marker at the midpoint of the work, and that just really helps me not have to count all of the knit and purl stitches. Let's look at that KFB one more time. We're knitting into the stitch, keeping it on the needle, knitting into the back through the back loop, and 1 stitch becomes 2. This increase we'll be doing many times as we're shaping the foot of our Christmas stocking. Another increase is on the purl side. This is PFB, purl front and back. So you purl 1 stitch, again, you keep it on the needle, and you are going to purl through the back side. Let me try and get into frame here for you. And then we purl through the back loop. Go ahead and purl that on through. And we have increased our purl stitch from 1 to 2 stitches. Let's do that one more time so you can make sure that you totally and clearly understand how to do this. So we're purling front first, just a regular purl stitch, keeping it on our needle, and then purling through the back. You'll see that we take our needle tip, and it's a little tricky. You have to put it right there through the back, purl it on through, and you have increased that purl stitch from 1 to 2 stitches. And let's take a look to see how our stocking foot is shaping up at this point with our decreases and our increases. You can see that the toe is beginning to take shape right here. Next, we have a slip, slip, purl decrease. So we're slipping 2 stitches knitwise and then just placing those back onto our needle. Placing our needle through those 2 stitches, and of course our yarn is in the front. Purl it through, and we have a slip slip purl decrease. The other purl decrease is purling 2 together. That is where we are inserting our needle into both stitches simultaneously, purling it on through. And those 2 stitches are now 1 stitch. And once you've completed knitting all 70 rows of your Christmas stocking, this is how it shapes up. It is so cute and pretty, and we're almost done. We're going to bind off. We begin by knitting 2 stitches together, and then we're going to repeat the pattern between the asterisks. So we're knitting 2 stitches, and then we're going to pass that stitch over. So this is a lot like that basic bind off, but we are doing it 2 stitches at a time. Makes it go a lot faster as well. Knitting 2 stitches and passing that stitch over. Once you're done, cut your yarn, thread your tapestry needle, and we're going to fold our piece on the wrong side out because it's time to seam up our work. And I'm doing the mattress stitch, with this nice chunky yarn, super bulky. It is very forgiving, so however you choose to sew up the seams, it'll look great. Before each color change, you will want to weave in your ends, cut your yarn, and continue seaming up using the yarn tail of the corresponding color for each stripe. And once you've finished seaming up your work, simply turn your piece right side out. Here at the bottom, we have the stocking foot, which is shaped perfectly, coming all the way up to that cuff. Do you remember that 2x2 rib stitch we did? Simply fold it down. And then I like to create a little loop hanger. My recommendation is to braid it. So I'm just cutting 9 strands of yarn, about 16 inches long. knotting one end, and then braiding those 3 strands, knotting the other end, and then forcing each knot into the stitches of your Christmas stocking. Just sort of push them on in wherever you'd like on either side, and then to secure it, use your tapestry needle and some yarn and just tack it down. Of course, you will want to weave in your ends, cut your yarn, and you are done. Here is your finished Christmas stocking. I really wanted to create an easy pattern for you, so I hope that you enjoy knitting this up. Please share it on social and hashtag Studio Knit. I'd love to see your work. Check out my other Christmas holiday knitting projects, and I will see you here next time. Bye.